The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's where we all begin. Welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters.
For years, the truth was hidden. People from other times, other worlds, heroes. But now we know. They're among us.
In Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a super-secret peacekeeping spy organization works behind the scenes to battle Hydra, a multi-headed enemy. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spend their time looking for superheroes. In Smith Corona's Golden Shield, agents of creativity spend their time fighting against monotony and battling against typos. They are the real heroes of our story. Let us begin.
Howdy folks, and welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters, our own super secret spy organization dedicated to preserving the peace and fighting the never-ending battle against typos. What you see before you here is a Golden Shield, Smith Corona. And this is a very interesting thing, and you can see that we're on the case. Normally I start out with a picture of the typewriter, but I wanted to show off the case first because, and it may be difficult to see because it's so close in frame, this is the only baby holiday case I've ever seen. In any case, you have, in this case, a thin version of the holiday case. And if you look really closely here, you can see it says, what does it say right there, Katie? Golden Shield by Smith Corona. Thanks, hon. So, opening up the case, you'll see why we wanted to focus on it first. And what you see here is a really stunning Golden Shield Deluxe line by Smith Corona, Courier. All right, continuing on this really interesting case. Let's pan up a little bit, Katie. Can you lift the camera up and give us a shot? Okay, so what we have up here is kind of neat. It's a little document pouch, and it's sort of leatherette plastic, but it's held up well over the years. And we have the original manual, Golden Shield by Smith Corona. And zoomed in there, and you see a picture of the typewriter. And what's inside also is our very well-earned 5-year guarantee card, which is always fun to get. So we'll set aside our original documentation and get back onto the typewriter. So what you see in the front here, you have an interesting layout. So when you first look at this machine, you may be asking yourself, well, what is that? Other than unusual name branding here, is that we have, basically, it's called a Courier, and that name was used later on in the Corsair body styles, the plastic versions. But this is a skywriter, essentially. But it's a skywriter that has a flat top, and a chopped top, I guess you could call it. So it looks a little bit, reminds me of the Pencrest we've done videos on, but shrunken down. So the Pencrest Caravelle, I should say. In any case, what you have here is basically a skywriter. It has the same back panel. It has the same paper supports. We've got a paper a ruler here, paper bail. You've got a very simple line advance mechanism. We have single or double only. We'll come around the side and take a look at that. This little notch, if you can see it, I'll get that out of the way. You manipulate this and it physically changes the way the line advance can work to shift you into single or double space, your carriage return arm, and your manual carriage margin sliders. So that's been the same for a long time. Very small platen knobs, very small platen. We have our standard set, page set here. So you just put your paper in, put the 11 under set, and it knows you have 11-inch paper. So it gives you a countdown for how much paper you have remaining. But the interesting parts we were talking about was you have this interesting ribbon cover. You've got this really pretty golden mesh underneath with the Golden Shield by Smith Corona written on there. And I did some research and really basically just read the research that Will Davis had done. And I had thought that the Golden Shield moniker was just another, enhancement that Smith Corona had made to its own product line. But apparently Golden Shield was actually a company At least it was stood up for about 6 or 7 years, maybe 8, I guess. 59 to 67, it looks like. And how they found that information, I have no idea. But thank them for doing so. Which was, of course, right about the time this machine came out. So Gold and S.H.I.E.L.D. was a company. It sold things like radios and apparently Smith Corona typewriters for a brief period, not to be confused with the Golden Touch Underwoods, which were sold at about the same time. So everything was golden in the early 60s, including Goldfinger. All right, if I can do this, I'm going to show you something else. So this case is really neat because it has an interior lining. And I've never seen a holiday case that had that quite like this. So the way you get the typewriter out, there's 2 little clips on either side. And of course, I cannot film by myself and lift up on that. So maybe Kevin can come over here and help us out while we do that. And what you do is you put your fingers, can you get that in frame, Kevin? Sure. You put your fingers on these little clips and you push down as you pull up. It's actually a little tricky for something that's designed to be done every single time. And you just pull the machine out, and we'll set it aside for now. And let's focus on the case, Kevin. Can we do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take a look at these little prongs. You pull back on these. They hold the typewriter in position, and then they're also secured back here. These latches go into slots on the back of the typewriter. But what's neat about it is this is really a legit holiday case. You just lift up on this, and voila, you remove this inner liner, and now you have your very short holiday case. So you can put maybe a pair of underwear and a pair of socks in there. You've got a small case. This is about, I don't know, 2 inches shorter than your standard Smith Corona holiday case. And I'll roll in a picture of that. I have one to compare it to a standard Silent Super. But it's just really neat. It's just a little slick thing. What you do is you put the inner tray liner underneath a little clip, and it locks in. It's not designed to be done on a crowded desk. Of course, you've got your paper storage location. We'll put our stuff back there. And we'll just sort of round off the case with that, and we'll focus now on the typewriter. Okay, so here's our Courier. Let's go ahead and open the lid. What do you see inside? Well, not surprisingly, you see the same Skywriter, aka Corsair ribbon spools. These have a little notch tooth in there, which slides into a groove on the spindle. They're probably my least favorite ribbon styles, just because they're not that common to find, and you can certainly find them online, but they're a little bit more annoying than just your standard ribbon. You've got a touch control on this machine, so you can regulate how much pressure your keys require to strike the platen. And you do not have a paper, a ribbon color selector. But what is this thing over here on the right-hand side? What do you guess that is, Kevin?
Maybe it's a second touch control?
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's a great guess. For left-hand and right-hand use, maybe? No, folks, this is actually a ribbon reverse. It's a manual ribbon reverse. Just in case your automatic ribbon reverse does not get the job done, you can flick this over and it will reverse the way the ribbons are moving. You'll notice you don't have a dedicated number 1. That's very common. Margin release is on the left-hand side. Sometimes it's on different sides. This is your backspace and your standard layout. Interestingly enough, you have plastic keys, but then you have a metal spacebar. At least I think it's metal. It's painted anyway, so it's not pre-colored plastic. So I think it's metal. It's metal.
Paint's kind of coming off, so I think it's kind of metal. But
I think you're right, Kevin. Okay, so yeah, so let's go ahead and roll some paper in and give it a quick typing test. You don't have a page guide on the side. You guess you could be tempted to use. Can you zoom in on that, Kevin? This always makes me think it's a page guide, but it's really not. That's part of your line advance mechanism. So if you put your paper all the way up in there, it's going to pinch it. So you just put it right there on the 0 as best you can, and you roll it in. Lift up the paper bail. And if you can zoom in a little bit, Kevin, to get the typing action. Quick brown box jumps over the lazy, not sure why we started in the middle of the page, dog. Okay, so very standard typing action. This has got a pica typeface, a pretty decent ribbon even, so I didn't bother to change it. Just real nice. It's higher than a Royalite, I would say. I'd say it's a little bit better than the Corsair, and essentially that makes it a Skywriter. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is another Skywriter. We'll get them close together.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this is a funny one because it's a Skywriter too, but it's not called a Skywriter. There is no name branding on this. This is our Empire, which is somewhat rare. It has green hammered metallic case, but you can see in comparison how flat the Skywriter ribbon cover is versus this squashed. It's kind of like the squashed Futura that the Royal did with a lot of its models, like the Parade and others after they had the Royalite. Excuse me. The Royalite 64 and 65 and Parade and Signet and all those others. It reminds me of that because you've got an ultra portable machine with a little bit of a taller lid, and it just looks good. So it's kind of a neat example, and I thought we'd bring it to you. Overall, again, the same pros and cons you have with almost any ultra portable. It's not going to have as robust a touch as a full-size desktop or a desktop standard or some of your larger portables, but the sacrifices you make for that are made up for in portability. So I really like this one. I'm not sure if we'll ever let it go because I've never seen another Golden Shield before. There's only one other one on the Typewriter database, and I really just like that little bassinet it has with it. It's like a little baby Yoda that goes with it. So we thank you for joining us, and
that's all, folks. We hope you have an amazing summer. Please like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe. Please like, subscribe, and share.